Hey folks, this is Rabble Rousing Rich Bergeron.
And gentlemen, the Tornado Tony Faceback.
And Psychic Tom Patrick with his crystal ball ready to go.
Alright, last week did not go well for me in my picks. Boy, it was not a good one. Anyway, I did not do anything on FanDuel. We got demolished there. Made some bad picks. The undercard turned out, again, some of the cheapest guys were the best guys to have. The undefeated guy was the guy you needed to have. I think I had him in the main event in one MVP slot in one card, but nothing was right on the rest. But Cyril Gagné, it just looked like he was sparring in his last fight. So I really thought Alexander Volkov was going to have the answer and do a lot better, but he just got embarrassed in the main event. Really, just could not really make any momentum, any headway. Just really got outclassed completely. And Gagné showed that he's the real deal. You know, so he's going to have to be contended with. And now they're doing a very controversial interim title fight with him. It's just ridiculous. But anyway, we'll get to that a little bit later. So that was a unanimous decision win for Gagné. Before that, we had Tanner Boser. I had a little bit of weird faith in OSP, even though I like to compare his fighting style to Czech Congo sometimes. A lot of muscle and, experience, but no flash. No explosive action with him. It's just very stagnant sometimes. And he really kind of proved that he's kind of, fading out. His career is definitely fading out. I don't know if they're going to release him anytime soon or whatever, but he's definitely on the tail end of things. Did not look good there. It looked like he was out of shape. It looked like he was gassing out. And ended up getting knocked out to save him from the third round. In the second round, 2 minutes and 31 seconds in there. And then we had Timur Valiev and Raoni Barcelos. Barcelos was a big favorite. It was like in the $20 range on FanDuel, so I had him on a couple of my cards, and that ruined me. Timur Valiev got a majority decision there, and that was a big points winner for him. Then we had Tim Means and Nicholas Dalby, who had an absolute war. Before that, after that, Andre Fili and Daniel Pineda were going to battle, and there was an accidental eye poke that ended it, so that turned into a no contest. But Tim Means and Nicholas Dalby provided what Fili and Pineda couldn't. These guys were just ruining each other. But Means pretty much figured out the trick and the technique that was going to take him to victory. And Dalby ended up just not getting enough chances to fight on the feet where he wanted it. And when he did, he got hit in the belly, he got hit in the face. So crafty Tim Means, basically, responsible for that. Anyway, Renato Carnero before that, beating Jai Herbert by rear naked choke. It was 4 minutes and 34 seconds into the second. Kennedy Nchukwu over Danilo Marquez by TKO. That was in the third round, 20 seconds into that round. Shavkat Rakhmonov, he's the one that you had to have. He was undefeated. Coming into this one, facing just a two-loss fighter, Michael Prazeres there, but it's a record would fool you. You'd think that you definitely have the capability to beat this guy, but it ended up being a quick submission in the second round, 2 minutes and 10 seconds in, and Rakhmonov got another big win. So he was in my main event on one card, on FanDuel. So if I had picked better supporting matches, definitely could have made some points there. So anyway, Jeremiah Wells was another one I underestimated. I didn't pick Warley Alves, his opponent, either, but Jeremiah Wells was the one to have because there was only 2 knockouts other than the co-main event on the early card there, and then Kennedy and Chukwu right in the middle of the card. But it was Wells and Procmio. You really had to have those guys if you were going to win the whole thing. And both of them scored back-to-back knockouts, basically, in the second round. Wells over Warley Alves, and it was 30 seconds into the second round. Marcin Prachnio was another knockout winner by body kick. 56 seconds into the second round over Isaac Villanueva. Then we had Julia Avila over Julia Stoliarenko by rear naked choke. That was 4 minutes and 19 seconds into the third. Charles Rosa over Justin James, and Damir Hadzovic over Yancy Medeiros. The first 2 fights of the night. And guess what? Tony's going to be very thrilled to hear this news. There are absolutely no MMA previews this week at all. Nothing. One fight card, according to BoxRec, worth mentioning on Saturday. Looks like, 2 fights. Chris Colbert and Tugstock, Nayan Bayar, and Michael Rivera and John Fernandez. So we'll get into the whole schedule. What we had last week for boxing, I know I didn't see any of it. Mario Barrios is the guy we promote a lot on the website. We were hoping that he won over Gervonta Davis, but apparently Floyd Mayweather came into the ring, that's what I hear, and had some words with his boy Gervonta Davis, and said he was down on the scorecards and needed to knock the dude out. And what did he do? He went out there and knocked the guy out. So more power to Gervonta getting the job done and having that killer instinct when it counts. But I didn't see the fight. I just heard about that, so I don't know if you did.
I did not order the Gervonta Mario Barrios pay-per-view. I thought $74 for that was kind of ridiculous, very ridiculous, actually.
Crack streams, Tony.
But I did, yeah, I was not ordering that. But it seemed like Davis was behind on the cards. He was behind on the official card, and he went to win 11th round knockout. So that keeps his stock up, because that's a great division right now. The junior lightweight division, welterweight division. So all within a 10-pound range, you got the guys like Teofimo Lopez, Lomachenko, who we're going to get to in a minute, Ryan Garcia out there. You got Tank out there. You still got guys that are former champions like Kevin Farmer is out there. Jojo Diaz is out there who had beaten Kevin Farmer. So you have a very competitive, area between 130 and 140. And you get some really good fights made. Unfortunately, Mayweather now, and he said that he's not going to let his guy fight outside of the Mayweather banner. So now he is one of the reasons that's still in the sport. You had it back in like the late 80s, early 90s with the big Don King, Bob Arum feud. King had a guy, and Arum had a guy. They weren't going to fight. It just wasn't going to happen. And there was a lot of great fights that you lost out on. And then if he had a guy like Mike Tyson or Julio Cesar Chavez, and somebody was ranked the #1 contender, King would put it in there. We'll get the fight, but if you win, I get your next 2 or 3 fights. Mm-hmm. So that was in a way, screwing whoever else was, and especially if it was a smaller promoter, was really, just kind of crushing that. That was his MO. But no, I did not see the Gervonta Davis fight. What I did see,
Lomachenko,
that was impressive, was the return of Vitaly Lomachenko.
I knew you were going to say that. And see, I'm psychic too.
Went out, one Japanese fighter that took Teofimo Lopez in the distance. Dave Lopez, one hell of a tough fight. And Lomachenko made him look like he shouldn't have even been in the same ring. He battered him over 9 months until he finally put him down and the referee stopped it. Lomachenko looked sharp. I mean, he looked razor sharp against a good opponent who had never been stopped.
Yeah. So I hear. I did see a little bit of highlights on that. And the footwork was second to none.
I mean, he was back to using his matrix move. He was doing angles, and I mean, he was doing angles, land the left hand, spin him around, and you know, the guy could never stand his feet.
Yeah.
And it was through some performance, for lack of a better term.
Well then. Let's see what else we got. Saturday we had a lot of fights last week. Saturday we got a couple good fights, but Erickson Lubin beating Jason Rosario last Saturday. Bater Akhmadov over Alginis Mendez. Daniel Matalon over Jose Argumedo. And Julio Cesar Martinez over Joel Cordova. We got Saturday. It's a big female fight here right off the bat in Belgium, of all places. Delphine Persoon, 44-3 at super featherweights, fighting Elena Gradnar, who is 10-1. That one's for the vacant IBO Intercontinental Female Super Featherweight title. And nothing really. Too beautiful on the undercard there. What's going on around the world here? Here's one for a couple titles in Mexico. So it's a one-fight card here. And it's our Jesus fight of the week. And Jesus is undefeated. He is 8-0 at lightweight. Jesus Eduardo Saracho. You know the four-name thing that we joke about. And I guess the three-name thing is the thing too. One of them is Jesus. Jesus Eduardo Saracho against Edwing, not Edwin, Edwing Davila. D-A-V-I-L-L, no, 1-L-A. And Davila only has one loss, 21-1 for the vacant NABA lightweight title and the vacant WBO Latino lightweight title. Jesus is fighting for a Latino lightweight title? No. Never. That's impossible. And then also in Mexico, looks like we got a little bit of a mismatch here. Alejandro Rene Frias. I guess this is a good enough mismatch of the week. He is 12-4-2, super lightweight, fighting Jonathan Eduardo Gonzalez Hernandez, who is 2-26 with one draw. Yikes.
One draw. One draw.
That means a lot to him, I bet, that one draw. And here we go. And I don't want you to get offended. I'm not making a joke here. This is from the Philippines. We got our Somebody's Always Got to Go fight of the week. We got Mark Vaselis, who's 13-0-1. And then we got the undefeated fighter, Jervin Mama. Not Jer Mama, but Jervin Mama. 12-0-1. I never heard of a guy named Mama. I guess he's a mama's boy. Mama. M-A-M-A. I can tell you why he got into boxing. He grew up in an American school. I got made fun of for that one. Okay, final big fight Saturday is the Chris Colbert card. He is undefeated as well, 15-0. fighting Tugsog Nyambayar. Say that 10 times fast. 12-1 for the WBA interim world super featherweight title. And then we got the almost somebody's always got to go, but somebody's got a loss in his last fight. John Fernandez, 21-1, fighting Michael Rivera, who is undefeated, 20-0 at lightweights. That ought to be a good one. Then you got another group of undefeated fighters facing each other. Super featherweights Angel Alejandro, 9-0, fighting Rudy Ochoa, who is 10-0. That's a pretty good card. Also got Gabriel Fundora, flyweight. He's 1-0, fighting Indea Smith, who's 1-1. Not supporting bouts there. Good stuff there. Also, last week in MMA, we had some more PFL from Atlantic City, and Kayla Harrison was back in action, and just as dominant as she always seems to be. They said, Cindy Dandois was a little bit more threatening. She had a little bit more experience, but all she did is really delay the inevitable. And Kayla won by armbar with lucky fours on the board. Fours were wild. 4:44 of the first round. Co-main event, Roush Manfio.
Did you watch that, Rich?
I did.
Rich, did you watch that?
I did. I watched that whole card.
Yeah.
That's a good card.
Now, what did you think of her interview afterwards? Was that a classic or what? Or do you remember it?
I don't think I caught that. For some reason, I didn't watch that part of it.
Well, yeah, she was asked, are you impressed by anything you've seen from, next one? No. She said, are you impressed by the no? He says, are you impressed by anything? She said, you're fine. Just a classic. I mean, she is, women's MMA has struggled a lot at the skill necessarily, but I'll tell you what, she's well worth watching. And she may be the best.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, it's just no competition, it seems.
Yeah. Well, this playoff atmosphere is pretty interesting for the weights where it is competitive. And Anthony Pettis, boy, he is having a tough time in this little feeder league. He's thinking he was going to be the big fish in the little pond. And he ended up losing a split decision to Roush Manfio. He really thought he had it won. And Manfio just kind of stole the show. He just edged out enough judges to get the win, and Anthony just keeps looking less and less confident in his ability, and he's slowing down and just not anywhere near the style he used to fight with. Not a lot of kicks, not a lot of running up against the cage and stuff like that, Showtime kicks, nothing like that. So I don't know what his lifespan is going to be here if he keeps that kind of performances up, but he made a go of it and didn't quite make it to the playoffs, but Roush Manfio definitely got the job done and beat a guy that's got a lot of experience. And then we had Lance Palmer falling to Mavlid Kaibulaev, and this guy Mavlid, he had a little bit of early difficulty, but it's just so technically sound, very controlled, and just looked really good out there. He won by unanimous decision. Then we had Dennis Goltsov over Brandon Sales by TKO. That was in the third round, 1 minute and 24 seconds into that one. Bruno Henrique Capoloza before that over Muhammad Daris by TKO in the first round, 2 minutes and 21 seconds from a punch and head kick. I did not see that one. It's been on the early card. Larissa Pacheco before that over Helena Kolesnik. That was also a knockout, 4 minutes and 48 seconds into the first. Ante Delija, I'm not sure if I'm getting that one right. That was also a first round knockout over Chandler Cole. Punches, 4 minutes and 39 seconds into the round. But then the other card we had last week, we had all the triumvirate there. We probably had a one championship fight too, but I don't really talk about those much. We don't really have enough big names yet. But we had Tim Johnson in the main event. Valentin Moldavsky looking really durable there over Tim Johnson. But boy, that turned into a very sloppy fight. And Tim was just constantly looking for the big haymaker to end it. I was not very impressed. You know, Bellator's had a tough time building a real good heavyweight division, and this one was nothing to write home about, let's say. The co-main event, however, was one of those female fights that definitely raises your eyebrows and reminds you that these ladies are here to fight, and they're here to stick around. They're going to stay with the sport, and sometimes they steal the show, still to this day. I mean, back when they were really pioneering the sport for women, it seemed like I used to always say that, you know, they were fighting for all womankind. Yeah, this one was pretty good. Knockout in round 1, 35 seconds in for Liz Carmouche. She's trying to get a title shot off of this, beating Kana Watanabe in dramatic fashion. Then we had Sydney Outlaw. I said last week that was a great name for a fighter. Fighting Miles Jury, defeating him by rear naked choke. Round 3. Again, 4:44. That's the second time we've seen that. Good time to end the fight. Former guest of ours for about 5 minutes. Last time I did a Bellator thing. Daniel Weichel beating Keone Diggs by split decision there. And this is an interesting one because this record scorecards are all over the place. 29-28, 28-29, and 30-27. How does one guy sees it for one dude, other guy sees it for the other dude, and then the third guy sees a totally different fight. Guy wins every round. Christian Edwards also beat Simon Bayong by unanimous decision. And we had a Day Jesus on the preliminary card. John DeJesus fighting and defeating John DeShera by split decision. At least that one was all 29-28, one way or another. Makes sense. Not the other one. Right. So that's it for recaps. We got another bit of news on Manny Pacquiao. You might remember after the Logan Paul fight, Mayweather took a dig at Pacquiao, talking about how he's still fighting for necessity rather than fun, and Floyd's out there fighting for fun. So he's like basically considering that to be much better. But now it's taking Manny. Maybe he's still out there in the Philippines dealing with carrier pigeons or something. But it took him a while to respond. But it's all over the news this week for some reason. He's now said, "I'm fighting real fighters because of passion, not out of necessity." 42 years old. He's no slouch. A lot of people are saying he looks better than ever. And I know for a couple of his fights, there was a story going around about him having just incredible pain in his calves and just having a real lot of difficulties with his legs. So hopefully he's figured that out, and maybe that's going to make a huge difference. But he said in an interview, "I still fight."
Like 10 years ago, it was like extra 10 minutes to get to the ring, man. He stretched his hands.
Yeah.
He's always been that way.
Yeah, I don't know what causes that, but that's interesting. Maybe just all the cutting weight. Anyway, he said, this is a quote, "I still fight because it's my passion. I love beating undefeated fighters and representing my country while doing it. If it were just for money, I'd have chosen someone else and not a real boxer. If it were just for money, why would I face an undefeated fighter? This is a real fight, not one against an opponent who isn't a boxer. I'm not like any other fighter. I want a real fight real rivals, real challenges against the best. I've always been like that. So more power to Manny there. This is an interesting story I found this week. I've actually been to this place. I don't know if you guys have been to New York City, but there's a place called Washington Square Park. You guys ever heard of it? If you've ever watched like a real deep conspiracy theory show about like, you know, how cities are built and, you know, the symbolism and the history and why things are written on different places, like this park, it's like named after Washington the president, has a lot of this, you know, secret symbolism of the Masons and all that stuff. So it's famous for that, but it's also been in a lot of movies because it's just a general hangout spot, you know, and it's just like people flock there and they just hang out, and kind of like Boston Common in Boston. But anyway, the story here is that it has suddenly become a haven for unlicensed boxing matches. They call it Madison Square Garden. It's in an area known as Greenwich Village, and I believe, from what I remember, it's like on the way if you're going to go down and walk from like Midtown Manhattan down into like the World Trade Center area. So yeah, it's a pretty significant park, pretty big area, a lot of grass, but also a lot of statues and stuff. But I know people skateboard there and all kinds of other stuff. But now apparently they have people organizing fights. The guy from the New York Post went down there and he witnessed hundreds of bloodthirsty spectators cheering on 5 unlicensed matches near the Arch. That's another symbolism of you know, Freemasons. That's what really you notice when you go into the park. There's this giant cement arch. And it's got all kinds of rings. Anyway, so this is the thing now. Remember last week what I was talking about? People have not figured out how to properly get back to doing productive shit. Pandemic is over, you know, and you know, everything's supposed to be back to normal, but some people are just not dealing with their freedom well. Anyway, it's also no coincidence here. The last sentence of the story is the boxing matches are just one of several unlicensed or unlawful activities that have consumed Washington Square Park in recent months, including widespread crack and heroin use. Yeah. Surprised they're not doing PCP. Isn't that supposed to really, you know, make you feel like you're Superman? That's supposedly what Rodney was on there, our former guest, Rodney King. That's what justified the supposed excessive force with Rodney. Anyway, it's a little side note there. Let's see what else we got going on. I saved at least one other story here. Oh, here we go. Rashad Evans is coming out of retirement. Believes he's going to box. Roy Jones Jr. is one of the potential opponents. Also, I don't know if you guys have heard this, Mike Tyson and Triller are in a little beef. Apparently, Mike Tyson and his entourage, or his management team, or both, I don't know, sometimes those two mix, have misled him into thinking that he was never paid for that fight with Roy Jones Jr. So, yeah, I read a little bit about that. And so Triller's president put out like a whole manifesto saying, listen, we paid you, we paid all the entities that your management team said needed to be paid, and if your management team told you that they were going to sue us, that's a lie, because we are currently suing you. Because you're supposed to have a fight against Evander Holyfield. That's supposed to be already done. That was part of the contract, and you haven't done it, and you haven't agreed to it. So, yeah, that's a weird one. Obviously, Tyson's people aren't telling him the truth, but I mean, he's had that history before where people have been able to take advantage of him like that. And at the same time, we've talked about how Evander Holyfield's in the same boat, and even Alex Rodriguez tried to help him on the financial show, and really couldn't seem to get his management people out of the huddle and to stop sucking off his income. So, yeah. Tyson gets famous again. Now, all of a sudden, there's people becoming slugs, you know? You're just basically leeching off of him. I'm trying to. Hopefully he figures it out and smooths things over, but I still wonder about why he did not choose to fight Holyfield, and Holyfield ended up fighting Kevin McBride instead, or signing to fight him. I really wonder about that, whether Tyson, has a real bad feeling about it, because now they're kind of friends, and he probably had to work really hard to break that stigma of the whole ear thing. Get really beyond that with Evander, even though Evander is a real religious guy, and will probably be the first to turn the other cheek, as they say. But yes, it was just very weird to me. I felt like Tyson had too much respect for him and didn't want to hurt him, because he felt at that point that Evander was just too diminished. So, but you never know what a real tough training camp could do for that guy. He could really get back in the groove. I mean, if Tyson could do it, Evander could do it too. So we might see some big surprise when that fight happens.
So when a person really diminishes in boxing, the nature of the sport and the constant blows to the head, the Holyfield fighter, he took punishment in his career. He had some tough fights. He had a tough fight with Burt Cooper, George Foreman, Riddick Bowe, all three times. Even he got stopped late in his career by James Toney. So some of those fights, he took a good amount of punishment. He was, as they call him, a warrior. That's why he had warrior on his trunks. So, a guy like Holyfield, physically, even though he could be in great shape, you don't know what's going on between the ears if those fights are catching up to him, and that could really damage his reflexes. Where, stuff that wouldn't have affected him 30 years ago could really be dangerous now. It's not like a sport where, like, tennis, you have an exhibition between two great tennis players like a John McEnroe and whoever, that are like 60-some years old now. Yeah, they might not be as fast and they might not be able to come to the court the way they did, but their abilities are still there. Their game wasn't taking concussive blows to the brain that could, diminish, their reflexes and their cognitive skills.
Also, a couple court stories this week. But yeah, I agree with that whole perspective there. And I think Holyfield was showing a lot of signs of dementia and stuff like that, and slowing down. But a lot of fighters have that speech pattern or whatever from getting hit too much, but they're still physically fine. Physically they can do everything a regular person can do. It's just, their mind doesn't work as quick. Conversation sometimes. So we might end up seeing that in that fight. I'm not sure. But there's a couple court stories we need to talk about. Number one, Trisha Trisha Morrison there got a big win, sort of a halfway win, but definitely very impressive win considering the circumstances and who she's fighting there in Nevada. We've had her on a couple times now, and just always fascinated by her ability to do that by herself and take it that far, all the way up to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and they have ordered an mediation between the parties. So it's a big step. It's a very big step. Because it forces the other side to at least try to make an offer to get rid of it. And, you know, it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of it. But I think that's the hurdle she needed to get over to really get some momentum. So we're going to keep pulling for her. The other one is a little bigger for all of MMA here, particularly UFC fighters that are not involved in the original class action antitrust suit. Now I've been talking about a possible maybe concussion suit, or something involved with a lawsuit over the bonus schemes that they used to have, but this is basically a carbon copy of the existing antitrust suit, but it's for people that did not qualify due to a time limit. So basically now, this one was initially filed by Cajun Johnson and Clarence Dalloway, CB. I guess that's his real name, Clarence. I guess that's why he goes by CB. Clarence. Anyway, this one's for MMA fighters who participated in UFC bouts between 2008 and 2018. So this is interesting because it's basically saying the monopoly never stopped even after the UFC got sued and there was a class named in the class action. They're saying it still has gone on and flourished and is still practicing the same way up until 2018. UFC didn't immediately respond for comment, but the proposed class action accuses the organization of leveraging its 90% market share to force fighters into exclusive deals that starve competitors of talent unless they agree to become little more than its minor league affiliates. So, yeah. Unreal. But, it's one of those things where the Fertittas got out at the time they did for a reason. I think they saw the writing on the wall on that first suit. They knew that it was going to come down to, fighting for years in court, but it was going to come down to, the business pattern. And they were ruthless, especially when they put the foundation of the whole practice of intimidation, basically. Fighters are intimidated in the UFC, and it doesn't get said enough. Dana White, especially. I mean, he's not like a tough-looking guy, but he just has a lot of power to change fighters' careers. And sometimes he makes really stupid decisions just because somebody will come up to him and suggest it, and they'll have the balls to just go do it. Like at one time on The Ultimate Fighter, Dana White comes to visit the house and chill out with the fighters, and this guy just goes up and asks him for a particular fight. And just because the guy had the balls to ask, Dana sets it up. So, everybody knows that you've got to suck up to this guy and do what he says and wants. And he's just got these unrealistic expectations that everybody should bow down to the UFC and kiss their feet. And, that nobody should want to fight anywhere else. And you can't complain because we make millionaires out of everybody that does well here. He's always got an excuse, and he sort of has been able to distance himself from the actions of the Fertittas and the other owners. But he has just as much of a say in it as anybody. I mean, at one point he was deciding who got the bonuses, personally, with a couple other people. But now I think he's taken that out of his own hands. But it's just, he's got a lot of control with a very little fighting experience himself. That's the thing that kills me. And there are so many more qualified people out there who have had whole fighting careers that would have brought a lot more respectability to the organization. But unfortunately, this is the way they have to send the message by these massive lawsuits that will basically group all these ex-fighters together. And the story that I always have to bring up when this conversation comes up is John Fitch, the guy that Bruce Buffer never liked to announce. John Fitch didn't have enough punch to the name, not enough roll to the tongue or anything. It was just too deadpan. But anyway, the old story with John Fitch, they threw him out of the UFC because he would not sign a contract for a video game, giving his rights away to his image for his lifetime, his entire life. And the UFC literally threw him and a couple other fighters, I believe, refused to do it on the same fight team because maybe he convinced them it just wasn't right. So anyway, threw him out of the UFC, and then they claim it was because he was like what Tom calls a wrestle fucker. He just was not exciting enough for the UFC, even though he had a bunch of wins. It's not exciting enough. That was their excuse. They didn't come out and say that, well, he didn't sign the contract, so we threw him out. But that was what it was about. And I believe they did end up patching things up, and he agreed to sign it, and then they brought him back. But then they got rid of him later on for basically the same exact reason they cited this time. But anyway, the bottom line is they've been doing this kind of crap for years. Back when I was investigating Zions, they stole all kinds of information from the IFL and tried to intimidate the people at the IFL to fold that organization. And they've always tried to get one up on their competitors. And the whole Zions connection to the Pride dissolving all of Pride. It was always very bitter to me, especially because I dealt with the actual attorney for Pride when they sued over that whole debacle, where it was, oh, you guys are organized crime, so we can't do TV deals with you. We have to fold the organization. That's what the UFC owner Fertitta said. And then turns out they were organized crime. That's what they got their start. That's where all their money came from in the first place. If you look deep enough into their history, I mean, it's just organized crime all over that family. So for them to be saying we had to kill this deal because the owners were involved in organized crime, it kind of made me laugh. But a lot of people were willing to put that out there at the time, and so I had a lot of evidence, and I provided it to the guy, and they ended up settling. They didn't go to trial, but a very meager settlement. I think it was less than $1 million for each partner owner. But the worst was the fighters on contract with Pride. They were forever left with a bad taste in their mouth for the UFC. Most of them never fought for the UFC. They went their own separate ways. But a lot of them just had their contracts end out of nowhere, and they were just left hanging. And we never saw a 10-minute round again. But yeah, it's not a surprise here. But it was really surprising that the other one hasn't even finished yet, and this one is already out. That was what did surprise me. The other one that they've already used in the last case is this picture, very incriminating picture that Dana White took with the tombstone, the fake tombstone, and the organizations that they had basically killed. They were all written on them, on the tombstone. And then Dana White called himself the Grim Reaper. It's hard to get around that image, especially if it does ever end up going to a jury, either of these cases. But yeah, one of the guys who's been working on it, I've had a couple brief conversations with him, but he's really serious. He's one of the first people to actually start an MMA union, International Mixed Martial Arts Federation, IMMAF. And he's a really, really sharp guy. But he got a bunch of antitrust firms to work together on it, and this is a multi-billion-dollar case if they're successful. So I don't even understand how the UFC can try to sell stock or get financial investors at this point and think that they're going to end up in like a payment plan over this, because it's going to take a lot of money to settle this if it goes their way. But anyway, that's what they pay the big time lawyers for. I just hope this one gets just as much or more press as the last one, and we get some court action going on either way. But anyway, I guess that's everything for this week. You guys got any tidbits? I probably forgot about something.
Rich, I'm surprised you didn't mention Joe Schilling's fault.
Oh, knocking that guy out at the bar? Is that what you're talking about? Joe Schilling?
Yeah, I guess he was in a bar, and he went past someone, and it was kind of, the video was a bit obscured, but then he turned around and knocked the guy out.
Oh yeah, I saw it.
One punch was just dead.
I saw the video, and basically, the guy was being a little bit of a dick, but Schilling pulled one of them things like, "Oh, you're gonna bump into me? That's an excuse to just fucking punch you." And he bumped into the other guy. You know, the other guy's being a little bit drunk, but I mean, you can move around somebody. It's not like there was no other way for him to go. It was kind of like when I was on the cross country team. I had a fight at practice one time. We were just running through town, and I was going up towards the hospital, and this little buddy of mine, who is like one of the fastest runners on the team, is running up the gutter, and these assholes just got off the bus. So they decide they're going to walk in the gutter and make him run around them. So what does this kid do? He goes around them. And then I decide, fuck these kids. I'm going to run right through this asshole if he stays in the gutter. Sure enough, I ended up in a fist fight with the kid. I threw him on somebody's car and just kept running. And the kid that he had to go around ended up turning back and seeing like the last part of it. And I like laid the kid out with a one punch on the car. But that's exactly what it reminded me of. I mean, sometimes you just like, you know, you see a guy being a dick, and you just kind of want to see what happens if you do a dick move back to him. But when somebody's been drinking, that's kind of like, and you're a fighter, that's very irresponsible. So he's probably going to get sued, just for that fact alone, because you know he wasn't drunk. That was pretty obvious. And you could just hear by the reaction of everybody, they were just like, what? Like, the air came out of the room. He fell like a sack of potatoes. One punch.
Yeah.
It was ugly.
I saw the clip. I think somebody posted it on YouTube, and you're right. I mean, he hit the guy. I mean, was it necessary? I mean, from what I saw, I don't think so, to be totally honest. And you don't know what words are really... You really can't hear. You're right, the guy's trying to go around him, and, you know, did somebody say something? Yeah, did he deserve to get clocked like that? I don't think so, to be honest. Hey, and trust me, I've been in plenty of, you know, nights out, and, you know, things happen, especially when alcohol's involved. You know, I used to have to, at our house in college, I'd be training for fights, so I wouldn't be partying a lot, and I would usually work the door and make sure everything was, you know, going on, and, you know, people weren't causing no ruckus and breaking shit and going through the house when they weren't supposed to, stay in these 2-3 rooms, and they'll be going upstairs in our rooms, and one guy was arguing with friends of ours, and I said, yo buddy, you know, you gotta cool it, and him and his buddy really got really nasty, and my one friend threw the guy out the back door, and I was thinking the other guy out the front door. I said, when you guys get down to this point, you'll meet up with your friend and just go home and cool off. The guy's like, no, I'm going back in. I said, the hell you are? No, you have to go. And I was sober, you know, and he's like, no, I'm going back in. I need to find my friend. Your friend is walking the same street, parallel. You guys are going to meet up as soon as the street converges. And he turned around and tried to run, like, back to the house. And I pushed him, like, I tackled him. And I got up, and he jumped up, like, and I thought he was coming at me. Instinct, I hit him. I mean, when I hit him, I mean, his whole body went limp. I'm like, oh, crap. I'm like, I got like a damn near unconscious body here. What the hell do I do? I asked, and I'm like trying to carry him down the street. And two of my buddies came out, my roommates, and like, dude, just drop the guy. So I dropped him like a sack of potatoes. And they're like, yo, you get back in the house, because if something happens, we don't need you getting in trouble. And I saw the guy 2 days later at like Walmart. And he comes up to me. He's like, yo, man, I want to apologize. I want to apologize for making you hit me. Wow. I clock you and you apologize to me. And I'm like, that's actually kind of cool. But he knew that I was the guy that ran the door.
Yeah.
So you were on my bad side. You don't get back into the best party house. But
nice.
you know, I mean, I had another issue. At a bar one night, the guy taller than me, probably about 6'2", thin build. I would say probably maybe 175, 180 pounds, average build guy. Was drunk out of his mind and.
Oh, we lose you.
Friend of mine, she was only about 5'1". He went to check on a mutual friend who's handicapped. And I said, yeah, if you need me, I'll be right here. I'll help you. This guy with a battle hat shoved me, and I'm like, what the fuck, this guy's problem? He was heckling the guy in the band, his friend of mine. And I'm like, all right, this guy's drunk, he's an ass. And then when they pulled him off, he hit me by accident with an elbow. So I shoved him. He was doing a plan. I'm like, yo, let's go. I'm like, towards the line. I'm like, as soon as he crosses that line, I'm left hooking him up, putting him right out. And, but that was the situation. I was sober, he was drunk, and the two of the bouncers that were off duty got me. This guy was being taken out. They got me, and they're like, listen, we will cover your tab the rest of the night. We just can't have you basically beat the hell out of this guy in the parking lot, because you're going to hurt him. And we can't have his blood on our hands. So we will pay for your drink the rest of the night. Oh my God, I got black eye, but I don't see that. But no, you see that, especially when you go out to places and you see people drink it, and people have short fuses, and this kid's sad.
Just another example of people not being ready. They're not knowing how to deal with other people yet. They've been locked in the house too long. Joe Schilling, maybe one of those people.
You're right on that. Now that people are going back to events again, and you don't really have the social distance where you're going out, like you go to a grocery store, and it's instead of one person per family or two people per family, you got 6 and 7 people, or 3 and 4 people, and the kids are touching cereals and whatever, and people are in the way, and it's like you feel that short temper.
I think it's really funny how not only the amount of vaccinations has prevented us from now having to wear masks everywhere, but not only that, nobody's disinfecting anything anymore. Suddenly there are no germs. It's everything is fine.
I made a joke the other day when this started happening about 16 months ago. You'd walk into your grocery store, or your local, convenience store, or your local Walmart, or department store. You'd go in there and you'd go down to the aisles where you would buy, your Lysols and your bleaches and stuff like that. And they were cleaned out. Cleaned out. And the toilet paper was getting cleaned out because people thought they were going to be trapped in the house. I still got toilet paper from a year ago. But
I know you also probably had to get it for work, but they've come out since we had our discussion about this, and they said that if you had COVID, you don't really need the vaccine. They've come out and said the science supports that. So they fucking lied to you and said you got to get one.
The one comedian that I follow, and I've talked to him a couple times, that he had COVID right around the same time I did. And he said, he's like, I'm not getting vaccinated. He goes, I had it, I'm riding the antibodies. I got the vaccine just because I want the freedom of not wearing that stupid mask anymore. It's like, how can you police if a person's been vaccinated or not?
Yeah.
I go to a store, and it's like, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. Well, you go most places, and you don't see people wearing them. Well, has everybody been? No, it only says 50% of the population, at most, or 48% of the population.
I've only seen really old people wearing them now.
People are not wearing a mask.
In New Hampshire, they totally relaxed all the regulations. Like, there's no store will mandate that you put one on. So,
the only
it's just very weird.
That you still have to wear them is, at least where I live, is the one local pharmacy. And I can appreciate that because you have people that are coming in there and they're people coming in getting the vaccine. People are coming in there, maybe they're getting medication, maybe they have ailments or they're sick or they have cancer or something like that. I will not give a problem about wearing a mask. I don't want to, obviously, but I will, I won't be, give a hard time about it. But the gym, I'm happy not to wear it anymore. I was at the gym last week. Talking to a guy, I'm like, yeah, I'm getting over COVID about 3 months ago, and the guy's like, why aren't you wearing a mask? Because I got over it, and then I got the vaccine, 2 shots. Well, you should still be wearing a mask. I'm like, fuck that. Dude, I got antibodies and the vaccine. I'm like bionic, man.
Yeah.
Ain't wearing that shit no more.
He's double bagged.
Yeah, I mean, you still, like in Pennsylvania, you still have to wear it on public transportation. So if like the other week, I went down to my first Phillies game, which I didn't have to wear in the stadium, thank God. But on the train and the subway, yeah, I had to wear it. Sucked, but I got one guy I see at the gym all the time. He's a goofy dude. He wears the mask, but he has it on his chin.
Real helpful. Really good.
I'm like, look. Yeah, I'm like, if you're not going to have it over your nose, if you want to wear it and have it over your nose and mouth, I ain't going to bust you. But the fact that you have it, but it's on your chin, you got to call people out like that. Like, you're an idiot.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, it's not a fashion statement. Anyway.
But I'm off tomorrow. I'm going to try to stay out of trouble. That's easier said than done.
Right. Yeah, 4th of July. Happy birthday, America.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to definitely have some fireworks around me.
So
I've been
cool
invited.
Creature. I wish I could have had it in time for this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, anyway, I guess that's all for us until next week. See if we can book us somebody for one of these weeks here.
Still working on maybe going to Vegas in a few weeks for Fury Wilder.
Awesome.
That was me. I was going to see what the ticket prices are. I don't think the tickets are on sale yet, so I haven't booked anything. I haven't requested my days off, but they've been, I don't know, say no.
I saw Tyson Fury doing
vacation schedule.
imitating the meat from Rocky in the freezer. He was just letting the dude hit him in the love handles today.
And someone was saying, Fury better get in better shape. Look at all that slab he's got back there. Fury, even before he ever, always had that, back fat right around his kidneys. Always did. He always looked like he has the 2 water balloons back there.
Yeah.
He always had that.
Shit, the Red Sox won a little bit today. 15-1.
Well, my Phillies got rained out. Nice. My Phillies got rained out, and they're terrible. The other night they had a 4-2 lead in 2 innings. It became a 12-4 deficit.
Oh, no. No. We didn't even expect Boston to be good this year. And all of a sudden, they're top of the friggin' league. Ridiculous. They're starting to put it together.
Thank me. I went to a game the other week, and we beat the Yankees 7-0. So, you're welcome.
Yeah, we got you coming to Fenway, actually, pretty shortly. Sometime in July, I believe.
Probably, yeah.
Man, if I was in a better place with my vehicles, that would be a great time for a reunion. Gets you up here for a Phillies game at Fenway.
Yeah.
I haven't been to Fenway
you
forever.
guys love me up there, coming up there looking like Apollo Creed, yeah. You get stabbed up there.
No, it's not that bad. Anyway.
Well, I'm going to be off tomorrow. I'm going to chill out tonight, get a little training into my errands, and then get ready for a BBQ this weekend.
All right.
Going to get them old Roy Rogers grill skills.
Well, have fun and dodge the thunderbolts. And let's hope there's not a real tornado in the neighborhood. Just the...
Oh, so we had a tornado one today. Yeah.
Never good.
All right, well, guys, have a great holiday weekend. Be safe, be smart. Don't do anything I would do.
All right.
I'm gonna remember that one, buddy.
Yeah. I got Tom, I got a photo I gotta send you tonight. Rich liked it on Facebook. I think you'll find it amusing.
All right, I'm looking forward to it.
One of the tornadoes, professional hand wrapping jobs for one of his new clients.
All righty, guys.
Well, I will catch you guys on the flip side.
Happy 4th
For
of
now,
July.
I'd have to be wearing 80.
Adios.